So begin the do retreat for tomorrow. Today, we're going to talk about the introduction of what we're going to do this weekend. Usually, traditionally, these topics we call bardos or 6 bardos. When we say in 6 bardos, usually people think something about dying and death. So we must shift this view to better view, better understanding. Why? Because we thinking only dying or death is narrow view. This teaching, this 6 bardo, is not about only dying or death. This is teaching about the entirety of our existence, not just dying. However, of course, about dying and death, and after death, what will happen, we can only learn in this subject, which means usually people don't have that education. Even people consider a very spiritual person, but still you don't have much about education for this. Yes, everyone have some ideas and some stories, but not really logical doctrine. So therefore, this is a very important subject. So please try to understand, this is not only about death. Why? Because we normal people, the idea of death is very specific and very superficial. So we have to understand better way. Why? Because if we don't understand the better way, which means the reality, we just live as a superficial. Even you're not 100% wrong, but it's a very superficial way, narrow view, then we never understand what the reality. So therefore, this subject is extremely important for anybody in this world. Every single person no matter you are young or old, believers or non-believers. Because we all share the living and dying and rebirth. Everybody shares. But the most profound details are logical, indefeasible doctrine is only Buddha's Dharma, especially in Vajrayana, is the most detailed and profound. So I would like you begin to understand in this subject is a circle. When we say circle, a simple way of talking is a wheel. Or we can connect with wheel of time, Kalachakra. So this idea, I would like everybody begin to have idea in simple way, and then we can go deeper and deeper and more precise and precise. That I would like you guys understanding everything existing in this universe is a wheel of time. So wheel of time means simple way to understanding is long time or short time, doesn't matter, all of them is a cycle. Usually we see as a beginning or middle and the end is illusion. Is all is like well, have no beginning and no end. Continuity of this well, inseparable of the time of this continuity. So first, you can grab like that simple meaning. So that means death is not something far away. We waiting. Rather is every moment. We have every moment death or life. That means one aspect is the death, one aspect is a life. You can think even at the same time. And then usually people understanding death is far away. And one day this body is not function anymore. In our eyes, in our ear, in our concept, that we call death. But actually, that is every moment. But we cannot detect that. Why? Because our limitation of our perception. As the same as when we the other day talking about, according to science, the color and the shape, everything we see is something not exist. We don't see the reality because we had a limitation. As the same logic, we don't understand every moment of death and every moment of life. I continue this cycle, this wheel of the time. When we don't understand this, that is we call samsara, because we have full of problems. Why we have full of problems? The only reason because our limitation. So we cannot reach the reality. If you don't reach the reality, it is natural have problems. That is normal. So that is relative in a common sense, an obvious level. If you, very simple example, if you don't understand the road rules, you will get trouble. That is that level of reality. The road rules. But if you know that road rules very well, you more likely not get trouble in that level. That level of truth. Same thing. So this subject we can talk very, very deep, but we not going to go that deep, and we try to discuss is something make sense for everybody, hopefully. So that means first we learn bardo. Par means between, do means that reality. So we have to understand why called between. What indicating? What indicating is the first one, or there's no such thing first one, all of them between. When we're talking about a past, present, future, also, we only talk that comparatively. Reality is there's no such thing, past is always past, present is always present, future is always future, that does not exist. All of them comparatively. So now we call the past is that time is present. Now we call it the present, next, then it become a past. Now we call future, and that time is a present. And one day is the past. Only relative. So that indicating everything is the wheel, the circle. Continue of the time. Okay, then we call 6 bardos, which means 6 betweens. Everything is between, becomes. But here we categorize as 6. That's also really relative. But necessary to make that category. To constructive way of learning for the benefits of learning. So today's our topic is, first we identify the 6 bardos, which periods of the time, reality, this which bardo we named. And these 6 together is a completion of our existence. And how related to each other. If we know how to relate to each other, then we know how to benefit each other. So that is we're going to learn today. Or you can say a 6th moment of the entirety of our existence. Or you can say 6 status of the entire of our existence. So if we don't know what we're doing and why this is, then we are living ignorance. So we don't know how to take advantage, how to benefit each other and improvement of our existence. Or another way of saying, we don't know how to progress in our enlightenment path. So we must know these different moments or different state of the mind, how link each other and how benefit each other. Okay, so the 6 bardos the we can say at first, there is no real first, only relative. But when we need to discuss that order, is better to talk this better. So this one, core, Ranvjin Stegni Vardo, which means the nature living life. And then the second one, we can say Samtan Vardo, so which means meditative state. The life of meditation, you can say. And then the third, the bardo of sleeping or dream. Sleeping and dream. Sleep and dream is one bardo. And then the next one, these all three together we call alive. We consider is alive, all of them alive during the lifetime. Then we call death. Death bardo. But actually there's no such thing one death. So it's just one process. This processing we call a death. And then we call bardo. That one everybody call bardo. Why? Because between death and rebirth, between the experiences of between one's death and rebirth. So that's why they call bardo. That means this sixth bardo, not every Buddhist language term. Some people yes, some people no. But this one is everybody's term of the bardo. Every single Buddhist traditions. And then the next one is bardo of rebirth. Then when you have rebirth, then you naturally have an awakened state. So we say the living or awaken. You can call awakened state or awakened bardo, or you can say living bardo or living state. But more awaken is better, isn't it? More makes sense. Awakened bardo or awakened state. When you have awakened state and awakened bardo, the sleep and dream, you automatically, spontaneously, you have naturally. Meditative, not everybody have a meditative mind. Something you can generate. But actually, this is sometimes they don't call meditative state. They call nyomjuk state. Nyomjuk means the union state. So if we talk that way, this one, anybody can have it a little bit. But meditation can improve this. So that's why you can call meditative state. But the most important, this living and meditative state. Why? Because these two can influence all other bardos. So then you know the importance of all the link and the importance of benefit entirety of this existence, each other. Therefore, I say, don't think this subject is only dying and death. But of course, we're going to talk these great details of dying and death, which means how we can understand this dying and death and bardo, all of them is a great opportunity rather than something we scared of and unthinkable. So that is the essence we're going to learn. But to become like that, we have to learn the other status of the bardo. If we don't learn the other state of the bardos, you cannot become suddenly, oh, the death is the greatest opportunity for you. But if you learn and live in properly and the other bardos, then your life of living becomes preparation of the greatest of the opportunity of this death. So therefore, there is nothing important than that on the universe. Why? Because the most people are fear and or unknowing, living in ignorance becomes for you the greatest opportunity. So that is we meant to be doing. But how we do it is we have to understand at least intellectual idea, every moment is a dying. We can understand that logically. We're not going to talk that details of logic today. We can talk Buddhist logic. We can talk all this philosophical understanding, and we can understand through the science and everything. That is going to be a big benefit if you understand this moment by moment of death. This, for normal people, we can understand only intellectually and scientifically. But if you becomes a great meditator, then you can understand experientially. Then there is no possible you scared of death. Why? Because every moment of death you experiencing and you living on this, and you dealing with this, no problem. Then you see is no problem. For example, do we all scared every night going to bed and sleep? The most of a few exceptionals may be possible, but otherwise all people, they're not going to scared you're going to fall asleep. So we will learn like that way when we understand, oh, I'm going to die, okay, like I'm going to fall asleep. Okay, I'm going to fall asleep, and then tomorrow I wake up, I start a new day. Similar way, oh yes, I'm going to die, and then I start a new life. Becomes like that. Why? Because this sleep is actually death. A small death than when our body absolutely not functioning, that kind of death, and this every night falling asleep is very similar. Because death means all our consciousness levels, you can say collapse or disappear and not working with this body. That's all. Sleeping, when we are sleeping, we cannot do things with body. The only difference is somebody see, oh, as sleeping is still breathing. But you can do only breathing and nothing else you can do with the body. So this is, let's say, 50% of the die is that, and every moment we have a death, every second is we can think of like 5% of death. And if we go more and more subtle than 1%, so like that. When we have a realization, all of them same, only a little bit different level. Because every moment of death we cannot even fear. And every night of sleep, death, we all know, but we're not scared of. And then the big death stop completely function with this body. We are very scared. We don't want to even think about and talk about. That is living ignorance. No matter how you think you are intelligent, hierarchy level people, when we have no idea of what death and the rebirth or anything, that means, I mean, you have no idea. Maybe you have some idea, but it's not logical, and you have zero experience. It's living ignorance life. Why? Because you are only cares a small part of your existence, which we call living, long life. We care about incredibly a long life. And even we forgot about the suffering of the age, old age. We just always want a long life. Why? Because we only have this idea. Everything else, no idea. I mean, no idea means you have false ideas, but not true idea. Not confident, with not understand anything with confidently. So that's the problem. So it is much better to educate yourself. So the one key is, I said, you try to understand everything is a circle. Second, you try to understand every moment have death. The only difference is we can detect or not, only that reason. But the reality is every moment of death, and when we are not body functional, is not big and small, same level. Only our illusion is not same in that level. Okay, now how can we understand and how we learn? How step by step? First, you learn how to live very well for the preparation of the death. When I say how you live in very well, means not saying, not thinking about death and not accepting and then try to live longer. I'm not saying that. I'm saying everything you are living, education, living, contemplating, meditation, mindfulness, conscientiousness, all of them becomes a part of the preparation of the big death. I mean, preparation means you understanding what to do with this. What to do with this means you understand how you take great opportunity, something you never had. In this life. Okay? So that means all I told you, the teachings in this few weeks, all of them you can apply. There is no one single atom you cannot apply. All of them you can apply how to live in well. That means basically you build a great awareness and be mindful to practice and be conscientious of not wasting. Not waste life means not doing too many unnecessary things. Not doing too many ego craving distractions. Everybody has the same 24 hours a day and night. So how you use that well? That's all. Especially how you do well meditation. Meditation means we're not talking about, oh, you just stay quiet on the corner, think about nothing. We're not only talking about that. That is one small part of the meditation. But instead, we're talking about after you have a great awareness of the education of living, preparation death, you have this education and then be mindful of that. Then you reflect in very well. And then you become familiarized all this your education and great awareness. This is meditation. You can do this on the caution and stay in the quiet and corner, or you can do this in the very big noise in the street, on a bus or train or anywhere else. As long as you are not 100% distracted by external things, instead you always become familiar yourself this important subject, and you integrating this and you're living a life. This is a meditation. Okay? This is the fundamental of important meditation. Meditation means familiarization. So any subject very important, you make very familiar yourself, is the meditation. So there is many methods and different way of this meditation improve. Tonight we can't talk all of them, but I just give you one example. If you learned, you always aware of what you doing every moment. Because usually all people are not like this. If we can see our conceptual mind, if it's a color and a shape, then it looks jumping everywhere. Even you try to focus on something, 20 or 30% maximum on there, but the 70% time is jumping everywhere. So if your mind is not like that, if you learn, your mind is become like a big ocean, which means whatever you do in whatever distractions, you stare these moving things, doing things, and on the surface. But surface like oceans, waves on the surface. But the deep down oceans not moving. If your mind becomes like that, that is one example. You doing well are doing meditation. Why important? Not moving, which means not even you distracting, you're not distracting entirety of your mind. Only some part of mind talking and thinking, but the rest of your mind not moving means you gain your freedom. This is real freedom. That means when you become like that, you have a great awareness of what you're doing in your mind. So that means you are free from negative emotions. Which is suffering and the causes of suffering. Such as suffering is depression, anxiety, or this kind of suffering. And the causes of suffering is anger, jealous, resentment, or this make you suffering, make yourself suffering. So we call causes of suffering. But this all is part of your mind. The external things affecting your mind means you have no freedom. Your mind have no freedom. But when you are become like ocean in your mind, that means even you need to move on the surface for communication. But deep down, you gain a freedom. And nobody can move you. This is real freedom. If you becomes like that, then what happens? Your sleeping becomes not ordinary sleeping. Your dreaming is not become ordinary dreaming. So your meditation affecting your deep sleep that we call the luminosity of sleep. Not dark and nothing just gone. It's not like that. We can say luminosity means incredible, great bliss, joyful sleep. It affects your dream, which means you have many abilities in the dream. You can do it, and you know what you're doing. So that is not a normal dream. That means you have choice what are you going to do in the dream. But that is the only, not the important. The important, even more important is your living life is different. Your sleeping is not small, okay? The half of life, almost. So this is become extraordinary. And then you have meditative, the meditative ability in your life. You learned from the awakened state. So these three are tremendously good, in fact, incredible, in fact, effect, your death process and bardo. So that means when your death comes, if you are good at the best practitioner, you absolutely blessed and absolutely looking forward this opportunity. If you are not that great, not blessed, but you have a zero fear and zero attachment, to not die, and you have great confidence. You know what to do. You know how to take this as an opportunity. So even the least practitioner, as long as you tried these practices, when you are die, you know scared and you have no regret at all. And you can let go everything, no problem. So that means what will happen with the death process? And how becomes important? Is because if we are very, very tired and you fall asleep, and a deep sleep, you don't know nothing. Why? Because all your, any sleeping, you don't see it, you don't hear it. When you sleep, you hear it, means you wake up. So why hear it? I don't hear why? Because of your five senses collapsed into your mental consciousness. But you still dreaming. Why? Because you are living in the mental consciousness, conceptual consciousness. But when you have very deep sleep, you don't know nothing. The sixth consciousness is gone, collapsed. You are living only the seventh consciousness or eighth consciousness. That's why you don't do anything. Same as when you are dying, all these dissolvings more bigger and more obvious. When we are sleeping, all these dissolvings very fast. We can't detect them. But when you are big dying, they are more obvious. You can see, you can feel. And then we call the big death. What means? Yes, your sixth consciousness is gone. Your mental consciousness, the mind consciousness is gone. Then your seventh consciousness and eighth consciousness all gone. So then who you are now? You have only Buddha nature left. But this is called enlightenment, actually. But you will not enlighten because you have no idea. You live in an ignorance life. Many, many lifetimes. Countless lifetimes you live in ignorance life. You only care this short time of the life. Every time. You didn't prepare nothing. So you don't even recognize it, then it's too fast to shift. So you are in samsara again and again, because we live an ignorance life every time. That's why we say that this time is a precious human birth. If you not take the opportunity, you never find again. That's what we're saying. So, but if you are a practitioner, you had great awareness and great education of all this entirety. So you're prioritizing all the important practices you're doing in a life. So then you change it, your living, transformed your living, and your sleeping and dreaming, all of them you transformed. So when all collapse in the death, only Buddha nature left is something very similar of what you do in our life. You meditating on this, the ocean like, and you meditate in this luminosity, deep sleep. You meditation, this virtuous dream. All of them is each part, each difference, each part of the bardo. So then you recognize it. Recognize means liberation. You liberate yourself. So that's why we call the greatest opportunity. Why greatest opportunity? Is a natural collapsing, so then only Buddha nature you can experience nakedly. Opportunity of the naked Buddha nature. When we are sleeping is a small sleep, so we cannot experience the Buddha nature unless you are incredible meditative practitioner. But even you made a little half or quarter of progress and during your living, is this tremendous benefit when you are dying. Please can understand this. So this is not only just say, oh, then is Buddha, Bodhisattvas come and help you. We're not talking about that. We're talking about you liberate yourself. You are the, you are your true savior. Then you realize, that time you realize, oh, I am a Buddha. Actually, I'm omniscient, not a small illusion, samsaric being. But how big and how small your practices and each different factors, all of them details, of course, we going to discuss these 2 days. Of course, all of them today is a summary, the very essence, and then we going to discuss each of them, how to practice. how look like when we are realized, how many options we have, which option you are enough courage to take in. This things we're going to talk tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday, yes. So now is maybe good time to question. If you have questions left from the other days or 2 days, any of those, welcome, please.
If you have any questions today from Rinpoche, can you just add them to the chat on Zoom, either Zoom or on Facebook, and we will ask. Let me see if I have.
Okay, already 1.5 hours, but that's okay if you have some questions.
Just wait for people to type. Give people an opportunity to type.
Yes, today any question left?
Yeah, so I'm just pulled them up. So one of the questions left over from yesterday, Isabel works in a job that requires her to care for thousands of people. And so she's asking, what can she do to help maintain love and compassion in that position?
What? Lost her job?
No, she has a job where she's constantly caring for thousands of people. So
Caring?
she's caring. She has she helps people.
Oh, Kara, okay.
Kara, yeah, but she has so many people who she has to help. So she's asking what she's newer to Buddhism, and she's asking what can she do to help maintain love and compassion constantly in that situation.
You mean love and compassion to who fires person, or you mean the people you're going to have to take care of them?
I think it's the people she's caring for.
Oh. Okay. So we always have to think the compassion is you care about the ultimate benefit. We always direct our mind, care about people's ultimate benefit. And this physical care is not important, not that important, but we still do it and we still care because this is we can do with our limitation physically. So that means even you don't have time, even you don't have opportunity to physically take care, that doesn't mean you have no opportunity to mentally care. Mentally, you always wish liberate all sentient beings, means much more than taking care of them physically. So always mind have to think a limitless, try to direct and motivate limitless, which means prayer a limitless way. The motivation of prayer is limitless always. Physical you have chance or not is not dependent on that. Your mental compassion and love should not is dependent on physical chance.
Another question. How can I, so someone's concerned, how can I practice dream yoga if I can't even remember my dreams?
That's we're going to talk tomorrow more. So basically, you make remember your dreams first. You make recognize your dreams during your dreaming, and then you start the other practices. There's a few methods can do it. Yeah, during the waking state.
Okay. There's a few questions about bardo, so maybe help define bardo a little more. And then one of the questions is, in which bardo would I find the Pure Land?
Okay, so very important to understand is you reborn a Pure Land and you become enlightened. There's a very big difference. So you are reborn a Pure Land means only the last bardo, rebirth, only that time. But if you are enlightened, and before that, before the bardos.
Okay, so in this life cycle, can we choose to be reborn at the time of Shakyamuni Buddha?
If you know the Shakyamuni Buddha in, always and everywhere, then yes. But if you're talking about only the historical Shakyamuni is the past, so you cannot do in the future.
Is the time in the bardo painful for the body?
Painful?
Painful.
Oh, yes, and the bardo, even you don't have a body, but you feel you have a body. And your own perception, you have the body because you have such strong habit. So that's why having body. So, so you think you have a body. And yes, you experience pain, fear, everything. These details we going to talk, this weekend. What kind of fears, all of them. Depend who you are, which kind of practitioner you are, or you are which kind of a non-practitioner, or how bad you are, how bad karmas you associate.
So birth, meditation, dream states of life, that seems to correspond to 3 bardos. So how do we make it to 6? They're just asking what the 6 are that you were referring to.
Yes, the living awakened state bardo is the rebirth, how do you call rebirth bardo, similar. And then this deep sleep of this luminosity or the deep meditation is similar of the first bardo, and the dream is the similar of the Sambhogakaya Pardo, the first one called Dharmakaya Pardo. Yeah, this Sambhogakaya Pardo. Oh, so like that. So these three Pardos we have now, we can have now, is similar Pardos in the Pardo after diet.
Some of your questions, it would help if you put more context just for people asking questions. Today, the questions are very light on context. So the next one is, when a person physically dies and their spirit leaves the body, does this spirit remember everything and all the people and the experiences? Does any connection remain to this life?
Yes, they remember, but different karmic conditions associated with people, different degrees of remember, different degrees of, how do you say, knowing what they're doing, all these things, very, very various difference. But in all together, say yes, but the degrees are not same at all.
So in which bardo do we have the opportunity to create the Rupakaya or the Dharmakaya?
Yeah, the first, the pardo of death, the real death, that is the opportunity of Dharmakaya. And then this, the next level is Rupakaya, means Sambhogakaya. And then after, you have the Dharmakaya opportunity. No, sorry, the Nirmanakaya. But Nirmanakaya means it's not you become a Buddha, as means only you can reborn a Buddha.
Okay, this person's asking, I think related to the bardos, if it's possible to be in two places at the same time.
Two places at the same time?
Yes.
Not sentient beings. No sentient beings, normal ordinary sentient beings, no. And anything extraordinary beings, yes, not only two places, you can be many places. 1,000 and 10,000 million, trillion, and innumerable, depend which level you are.
So you mentioned a little bit about when we're falling asleep, the different state that we're in. So can you clarify a little bit more why we don't have what we in Western world we call consciousness while we're sleeping, while we're in deep sleep? Or
why we don't have consciousness with deep sleep, you mean?
yeah, I think they're using consciousness like the Western
Yeah.
idea of thinking.
Why we don't have is no reason. Is a natural process. You know, it's a natural process. Everybody have dying, you know, everybody have sleeping, you know, all of them is a natural process, which means the law of the karma. You know, this only know Buddha, omniscient, and even arahats or bodhisattvas don't know each specific cause and condition. Is the only simplest answer is natural process, natural law.
Okay, the next question is, can we call our guru during the bardo, like in guru yoga? Shouldn't the guru hear our call?
Yes, not Dharmakaya. Yeah, it's not the first, how to say first, not first. Dharmakaya Pardo, there is not calling you guru or then guru come, kind of, that's no. And Sambhogakaya, no. Is maybe Nirmanakaya activity, then maybe yes. So, but of course, your how your devotion strong can impact. But during exactly Dharmakaya Pardo time, there's no such kind of this kind of activity. This kind of function is not a absolutely different function. There's no guru is separated from you, that state.
Okay, the next question, Rinpoche, is if we lose our 5 senses when we die, how do we feel the bardo? How do we feel in the bardo?
So we can feel with this body is temporary. One state, a level, is not only this can experience. We of course fear, but we fear. We cannot say exactly like fear now. Who knows how we feel? But definitely we feel. We know. But not exactly with association of this body's way.
There's a few questions, you guys, that I think we'll answer within this weekend's retreat on here. Yeah, one is more what to do for falling asleep to learn dream yoga, which we cover later in the retreat.
We can't talk that short term, yes.
Yeah. The next one is just also someone's wondering if it's possible to help a person who is about to die soon, but that has never done any spiritual practice in this life. Can I help that other person with my own practice? Can I do anything to help someone who's dying?
Yes, the answer is yes, but how much degrees we can help is dependent this person's practice, but also this person's attitude and the person's the moment of death is the how to say the karmic connection. Sometimes the before die, even as a bad person, and the before die they become much more softer and much more better attitude. Some people even become worse before die, and so depend so many things. But the short answer is yes. In any case, you can try.